Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com, and today it's time for another Wookie update. As you guys know, I've been working very hard on getting the GTI back together. It may not seem like it on YouTube that I've been working very hard to get it back together, but if you've been following on some of the other social platformies, you would see that I've been hot and heavy on getting that car back together. I did hit a little bit of a hiccup with some borrowing of tools and something that I needed to do a really important step to move forward with the engine, but that's okay. We're going to overcome that and get it taken care of anyway. So where are we at overall? As you guys know, engine's been out for a long time, went to the machine shop, block got honed, decked, the head got all taken care of and all redone. The block is painted, cleaned, and had the pistons coated. All the bottom end bearings have been coated. They're all ready to go back together. And because I'm using this as a project car, that not only am I really excited about the project and frustrated that it's not done yet, I'm also using this as a learning opportunity for me. And there's questions about rebuilding engines. I'm pointing to my engine on the other side of the camera. There's questions I have about rebuilding engines and the right way, the wrong way, the way that people do it, which one is the best way. Yesterday, for example, I spent probably half the day messing around with Plastigauge, with a bore gauge and micrometers, measuring what the impact of torque on the main caps, we were just doing the main caps yesterday, has on Plastigauge. And the reason I did that was because I couldn't find the information out there. Plastigauge says nothing about torque, right? The repair manual says nothing about torque. Yet you really have to torque the main caps and the connecting rods properly in order to get the Plastigauge to make that nice little squish in a proper manner. And I couldn't find the information. Whether, do I just need to torque it to the first step torque because the GTI main cap bolts are torqued to yield? Did that mean I have to buy a whole new set of bolts, torque everything down, take my measurements either with a bore gauge or with Plastigauge, take it all apart, buy another new set of bolts, and put it back together? There was no information, so I did a little bit of my own testing to see which was really the best way, and it does look like, unfortunately, doing all new bolts for each test is the best way to do it. That seemed to give me the most accurate reading, at least according to what the spec should be, and there's no reason for anything on the bottom end of this engine to be out of spec. And I needed to get all these measurements before I put the crankshaft in, before I took the measurements and set the end gap on the piston rings, put the pistons together, and dropped them in the engine. All that needed to be done first. So it's, one baby step is holding up 25 other steps, but those steps are really important. And I don't know if you guys find that kind of stuff interesting. If you do, put it down in the comments and let me know. It's going to be a challenge to make a video about that, but if you're interested in it, I'll do it. It was mostly because I was concerned about it and questioned what the right way to do it was. And I think I found my answer. It's not the one I wanted, but that's what really showed itself on the reassembly and the measurement process. Also, next, and actually after I'm done shooting this video, I'm going to tape off some of the garage. I'm going to finish prepping the engine bay. I'm going to respray that. Just going to be rattle can, more like a refresh. Nothing ultra fancy or anything like that. I do have a pretty good feeling at some point this engine's going to be coming back out, and at that point, I think then we'll probably fill some holes and do some shave bay action. Not fully, not like the whole show car thing. Just clean it up a little bit and respray it a different color. So once the bay's painted and once the engine starts going back together, then it's going to be time to hit the suspension and the front subframe. The front subframe, all that stuff has to go back in the car before the engine and transmission does, because the engine and transmission bolt to the subframe on this car. So that all has to be put into place before I can put the engine in. And then the big deal, right? I've dropped hints. If you've been paying attention, you already know this. If you're a crew member, you saw the video I did about it a long time ago, right when crew membership launched. The surprise of the day, what's going to happen to the Wookie? Well, you know what? Hold on tight, and I'll show you what's going to be. And I'm back. I want really cool music playing. That's right. She's getting a turbocharger. To some of you, this is going to come way out of left field, as I've done a lot to keep the OEM look of the GTI during the build. To others, you've caught the hints that I've dropped about it, and then to the rest of you, well, I'll leave it up to you on what you think about it. But here we go. This is the turbocharger that's going in the GTI. It is a Garrett T3 T4 turbocharger. Should be good for knocking on the door of like 270, I think, horsepower is what the kit said. This is a kit from CTS Tuning. So it came with the turbocharger, the exhaust manifold, the downpipe, oil pan, oil return line, oil feed lines, diverter valve, basically everything I need to bolt the turbo up to the car. New injectors, a chip, which I actually found. Here's the chip, a chip for the ECM in order to reprogram that. New injectors, new spark plugs. Again, everything I need pretty much to fully turbocharge this car. The only thing the kit didn't come with is intercooler stuff. And actually, I have that set up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put everything back together, start taking some measurements, and design the intercooler piping for it. I have a cooler that's probably gonna work. I will probably cut the bumper a little bit in order to make it fit the way I want. But that's right, everybody, the GTI, the White Wookie, will now be a VRT White Wookie, and I'm really excited about that. It will join the leagues of the two other turbocharged cars that we have at my house, and it's been pretty fun. You know, the other things we're going to do to accommodate this turbocharger are going to be a little overkill for this one, but I want the ability at some point, if I really want to bolt another turbocharger on it, something a little bigger. Don't know that that's going to happen, but let's be honest, you guys know how we are. Once you have a small turbo, then you just want a bigger turbo. So ARP rod bolts, ARP head studs, all that's going to be installed as we get the engine put back together. So I figured I might as well tell you guys about the turbocharger because I'll be doing videos on that other stuff and you'll find out. As far as dropping compression, I'm going to be using a head gasket spacer, which I know some people don't love, other people think it's fine. I've seen a lot of VRT turbo setups run perfectly fine on that setup, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Some other goodies that are going to be installed is this short runner intake manifold, which is, it's actually a cut and splice of an OE lower intake manifold. It's actually a really nicely set up piece. Well built, throttle body goes there. That bolts up to the cylinder head. To provide the extra fuel that's probably going to be needed, going to get a new Walbro fuel pump as well as new injectors to go along with that. So I'll be showing you guys how to wire up, how to install that. Additionally, electric cooling fans. So I'll show you how to wire up electric cooling fans, which is really actually super easy to do, especially on a car that already had electric fans. Makes it ultra easy. So there's a lot of parts that are piled up on this table right now that are all going to be going into the GTI. You may remember, some of you that have been around for a long time, I had a Mark I Cabrio with a VR6 swap. When I sold that, the money went to buy this kit. That's kind of how long this whole dealio has been in planning. There'll be a lot of other little tweaks that I'm gonna do to the car in order to have the best possible setup for a turbocharged GTI. We'll talk about those as the times come, but I hadn't given you guys an update in a really long time on what's going on. I thought it was time, and I thought this was the perfect opportunity to talk about the turbo kit, how excited about it I am. Going to be running really low boost early on, probably 6 PSI of boost, which is nothing. So lots of fun stuff happening in the GTI. I appreciate everybody being so patient with me on it. It's been a labor of love. I just don't want to skip any steps, you know. There's part of me that just wants to start bolting stuff up, not worry about ring end gap. Who cares about oil clearances on the crankshaft, that kind of stuff. There's a big, like most of me really just wants to do that. A big part of me that wants to do that. But one, I think it'd be doing a disservice to you guys, most importantly, to see what it really does take to build an engine like this. Look at the stuff Eric's had to go through with his Fairmont. It's one thing after another, things you don't think about, things you don't plan about. There's 5 or 6 things I'm thinking right now that I wish I would have done to that engine before sending it to the machine shop, like measuring everything and getting all that stuff. You know, would buying new pistons and connecting rods really have been a better way to go? Of course, but that's big bucks, you know, and despite the fact that I have a pretty decent budget for this car, I do have a budget for this car. I don't want to blow it all the way out the water, and I couldn't sit here with bubble wrap without popping it. And let's face it, you know, really the worst that could happen is I blow the engine up and we got to put another one in it, which wouldn't be awesome, but it might also be kind of awesome, especially if it were on video to share. So I'm being slow, I'm being methodical, I'm trying to make sure I get everything taken care of now so that when it's time to fire the car up and we got it in on the street, that we're not going to run into as many issues as we would if we just slapped it back together. You know, you never know what's going to happen, but this setup should be pretty reliable, pretty safe for daily, pretty drivable. It's not going to be a horsepower beast, right? But it should add a whole lot of horsepower and a whole lot of fun to driving the GTI. Some parts, though, that we still need to look at are cams, probably going with 262s, which is a very small bump up, but with the turbocharger kit, that should be okay. Still need to get an oil pump. Still going to be looking at a new radiator, an oil cooler, a handful of other little parts that are probably going to cost me a fortune. Water pump, if I didn't say that. That are going to cost me a fortune, but again, you don't want to do a whole engine rebuild, bolt something extra onto it, and put the same crappy water pump in it or oil cooler in it that was in it before. So it's slow, it's methodical. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the series. If there's any other videos regarding this that you want me to make, please put that down in the comment section and let me know. I want to make sure I deliver on this project. That's one area that I've failed miserably on with the Mark 1 swap, is that I did not document the process nearly as well as I should have, or I wanted to, and that was me getting excited and then not being patient with getting everything put back together. So I'm trying to avoid those mistakes that I learned from doing the GTI, but with this one, I cannot be more excited about this turbocharger. There we have it. That's it. That's all. She's going back together very, very soon. If you guys have any questions or comments, you know what to do. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. Hey, one other thing. Hit that share button or share the link out. I always appreciate that too. If you want exclusive content like you would have known about this a few months ago, and videos you can't get anywhere else, as well as discounts you can't get anywhere else, check out the crew membership program. You can also throw some support over on Patreon as well. I appreciate that. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course Snapchat. All right, guys, hey, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your patience. I'm excited. I'm excited. Hope you guys are too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.